Bayonetta 3 is an absolutely incredible game that I have been playing non-stop since its release. And in my many hours of playing Bayonetta 3, I'm going to share with you today 10 things that if I knew at the beginning would have just made this a little bit better of an experience. So if any of these 10 tips help you out as you're playing through Bayonetta 3, make sure you drop it in the comment and of course like. And don't let me stop you there. Please share any other tips that you have found out during your adventure that are going to help other Bayonetta 3 players in the comments below. And of course, if you don't have anything to comment, just put an emoji like a heart or maybe like a little gun emoji. Squirt, squirt. Okay, for real though, I'm Don from the Game Looters, and we're going to go over 10 tips to help you out in Bayonetta 3. Let's get to them. Alright, tip number 1, use R3. I know, don't click off. You're like, yo, come on, for real, R3? Yes, use R3 to lock on. If you're like me, you're going to be forgetting to do this pretty often, and yes, with the right control stick, you can kind of like move your camera and pan to target different enemies, but locking onto an enemy is way more useful, and it's going to make your fights with very hard and angsty enemies a lot easier, especially when you have to use your demon slaves. If you're doing it right, you're going to be using your demon slaves quite often, and they can be a little bit difficult to control when it comes to targeting a specific enemy that you're trying to do high damage on or keep a combo going. So if you're locked onto them by using R3 and clicking that button in, then when your demon slaves come out, they're going to be targeting the enemy that you're locked onto. Thank me later. This leads me into tip number 2, demon slaves. Use them a lot. They aren't just a brand new mechanic to Bayonetta 3 that are awesome, they're a mechanic in Bayonetta 3 that are awesome and extremely useful. You're going to find yourself in the early stages and late stages of the game that your enemies are going to become progressively more difficult. But if you don't use your demon slaves often, you're going to miss out on awesome high-ranking combos, platinums, and even cool little cutscenes in the form of those special moves. Of course, make sure that you are going in and experimenting which ones work better for you. Like me personally, I kind of hated the train, but I loved the spider. So figure out which ones work best for you. This leads me into tip number 3. As you begin to use your demon slaves more sparingly and more often to get those awesome high-ranking combos, you're going to find that you come across some enemies that will auto or insta-kill your summons. So be very wary if you have multiple demon slaves enabled, which as you get deeper in the game, you 100% will. If you bring one of them out and you notice that the enemy you're facing auto kills that demon slave, that doesn't mean that you need to stop using them, but what you need to do at this point is make sure that you enter witch time. When you enter witch time, this is now your time to take out your demon slaves and do those combos. Also, a bonus tip for this is if your summon does die, don't worry, it'll come back. Don't worry, it's going to come back eventually as you continue doing your combos and hits. Your magic will replenish, but of course so will your summon ability. You'll notice that over your summon you have a skull, but there's also a gauge. When it fills back up, your summon is now resummonable. I was worried about this early on because I was like, oh no, did I just let my summon butterfly die? No, it's going to come back, no problemo. Tip number 4, we're going to be talking about witch hearts. So at first, these are going to be not very plentiful, and you're going to be using these to increase your vitality. But as the game gets deeper and you get deeper into the game, witch hearts are going to be more plentiful, and you're going to find yourself probably sitting on a few of them. So the tip is to make sure that as you get deeper in the game, if you need to, that you use the witch hearts as full health restores. This is going to be even more essential late game because there's going to be some enemies that really test your might, and you do not want to sacrifice your combos to get a bad score. So if you use a witch heart to fully restore your health, then you're going to not have to worry about the end of level scoring, and you're going to be able to knock out that awesome platinum combo without using any items, since the witch heart does not count as a usable item. This is awesome, and you're welcome. Speaking about hard bosses, that leads me into our next tip. There's going to be certain characters that you get pretty early on, and as you go through the game, make sure that you are spending time in their skill tree and making sure that you unlock all of their skills that are going to essentially help you out. Early on in the game, you're going to find yourself swapping from Bayonetta to Viola, for example, and the last thing you want to do is get stuck because you forgot to beef up Viola's skill tree. So make sure you go in there and spend time upping the skill tree because you're going to be getting some weird situations depending on the difficulty you're playing on, and last thing you want to do is lose something or lose that precious platinum because you just simply didn't give enough love to that skill tree. About skill trees, this leads me into the next one, which are weapons. Now, there's going to be a lot of different, I guess you could call them secrets, but there's going to be a lot of hidden things that are in every single level that are going to be very difficult to get to. So this is just a reminder that if there is a hidden secret that you can see off far into the distance or a specific item that caught your eye and you simply can't get there, it's not impossible. If it's there and so are you, it's meant to be gotten. So just swap up your weapon set to either maybe the spider or maybe the butterfly to try and go get that item. Now that we already opened the door for weapons, let's talk about them. So this leads me into my next tip, which is weapons. Don't simply just stick to your default weapons, although they are awesome and amazing. Make sure that you're swapping up and using the different weapons the game gets you. Not only are they awesome, fun, and amazing to use, but they're extremely useful. You're gonna get things like shields, whips, trains. Yeah, that's right, you're gonna get some crazy stuff, so make sure that you're using them. Don't just simply stick to the tried and true, swap up and have some fun because they're gonna be extremely useful, especially later on in the game, like the shield, which will help you immensely when you get to late game. So make sure that you're trying different loadouts, getting pretty familiar with them, because in case you need to use it and actually have to swap to it for whatever reason, you have a familiarity with that weapon already. And of course, like I said earlier, don't forget the skill trees. Since we're in skill trees, then I will talk about one of the first things that you should do when the skill trees become available, and that is unlocking the bat within. This skill is going to be one of the first ones that you can unlock when you get access to the skill page, and to get those early platinums, you're going to basically need this. So make sure that as soon as the bat within becomes available, that you're going into your skill tree and unlocking it, because this will greatly help you in combat scenarios. Speaking about combat, that leads me into tip number 9, and that is versus. Alright, I have to shoot it to you straight. You're gonna miss versus. I think I was reading earlier when I was looking up on Google that there are about 14 verses in each of the different chapters in Bayonetta 3. So there's a huge chance you're gonna miss some verses. So this one is just a friendly tip of don't stress about the verses, just have fun and get them later. And the last tip of the day is one that I found out about halfway through my playthrough. Around 10 hours in, I finally started to notice these. I knew I had heard these things around, but I was a big old dumb idiot and didn't realize that that is what it meant. And that's talking about the crows, the frogs, and the cats. Now, in each of the respective chapters and levels in Bayonetta 3, you're going to find and notice that there are crows, frogs, and cats. Now, these ones are going to, if you find all 3 of them in each of the levels, they're going to give you a new level when you collect all 3 of them. The thing to know about this is it goes in order. There's going to be a crow first, a frog second, and a cat last. So when you see them, make sure that you chase them and catch them. That way you can unlock the level at the end of each chapter. If you don't get them, you don't unlock it. So make sure that if you hear a crowing crow, a croaking frog, or the purring of a kitty cat, that it's not just background noise like I thought. There's actually something there. So I would say definitely go find a guide, to actually walk you through all the different locations, because I can tell you I have missed nearly all of them, and there was only like 2 chapters that I found all 3 of them. So if you're like me, you probably missed these as well. Alright, my friends, I hope these 10 tips help you out in Bayonetta 3. Have an even better experience than you were already having. If it did, leave us a like and subscribe, and check out more videos on screen now. Thanks for watching. Peace.